Linda Bonney is a published author, conversationalist, writer, storyteller, podcast host, production manager, and GME roving reporter.
Thanks, Kim and Kerry. We've all heard before that it's really important to focus and listen as we are in conversations. And I think this is especially important as entrepreneurs. So often we fall into a habit of trying to rehearse or think about our response while we are listening to someone. And ideally, we would love to be in a present situation where we could focus on one word at a time, one conversation at a time, rather than trying to foresee and predict more of what is coming up in our response. The one word at a time allows us to really think about what is being said rather than just gathering snippets of the person who may be mentoring us or giving us some very wonderful advice as an entrepreneur. As humans, we are taught to respond, ask questions, think constructively, and as entrepreneurs especially, I think we're often born with this desire to think of solutions. When really tuning into listening as an entrepreneur, I challenge you to try not to gather responses immediately. Maybe saying to the person, I really like what you've just said, and I would love to take a minute to think about how I would respond. Because the coin goes both ways. I think as somebody who is talking, we may expect a response quite quickly from a conversation that we are having. Just like one foot in front of the other, it's one word at a time. Back to you, Kim and Kerry.
Thank you, Linda. Oh my goodness. I never thought about that, Kim, actually stopping and kind of taking in the conversation. I'm the big mouth that just wants to respond instantly. Let me say that.
Let's talk about this big mouth, Carrie. So speaking of things though, we would love to highlight these two collections because they are from conversations that were interviews for her podcast, Linda's podcast. And I'm going to say Stories with a Sunday Roast. And it's not because I don't know the name of it. It's because I say it backwards all the time. And I don't know why, but these are stories that Linda is telling that she has intertwined with the interviews from the podcast. And it's brilliant. She's a brilliant writer, Carrie. Absolutely brilliant.
Yep, huge creative mind in our Linda Bonney. So super excited for the books, the podcast, and everything else that she's doing, Kim. Watch this space. There's a lot happening with Linda Bonney.
And can I add one thing too, Carrie? I know this is beforehand, but we are going to play a commercial in just a minute. And I want to give a huge shout out to Linda because it's still Linda. Linda made this for me. I may have been even 2 years ago now. She made this commercial for an annual event we have. And I want to say to you, Linda, I hope you're listening. Thank you for all you do for all of us and how much you mean to us.
Absolutely. You are tuning into Good Morning Entrepreneurs, and we'll be back in 2 minutes after this quick commercial.
When my 13-year-old son passed away 2 days after Thanksgiving in 2001, I went into shock. As the sun rose over the trees the next morning, I stared in disbelief. How could it just come up like nothing had happened? At that moment, I honestly felt like I was going to die from the pain and confusion I felt. How could the sun come up? How could I go on? I felt broken and raw. Over time, I began to heal and learned those cracked open places could be used for a purpose. I started to serve bigger, love others deeper, and started actually living my life again, even with the broken places. During my journey, I found so many other people with broken places who needed hope too. Several years ago, I set an audacious goal for serving others who were feeling discouraged or hopeless. I was given an opportunity to set up an online conference for others to share their stories and how they got past their brokenness. It was amazing to see how being vulnerable and sharing transparently impacted so many lives. So I did it again, then again, then again. Well, you get the point. Join me for the Hope to Hope conference as my guests tell their stories of overcoming in their personal lives and in their businesses. Some things are inflicted on us, and some things we inflict on ourselves. Either way, we all need hope. Hope that we can survive. Hope that we can heal. Hope that we can really live again.